everyone, and welcome back to the Rise Factor. I have a very special guest today, Caterina Italiano, joining me from Woodards here in Victoria in Australia. A very warm welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I was so glad that you reached out. Caterina, for those that perhaps do not know you, can you tell us about who you are?
Well, when I'm not at work, I am a massive foodie. So I love to get out there with my fiance, explore new restaurants and all different parts of Melbourne. I am impartial to a day out in the bush with no phone reception. Sometimes getting away from the phones can be a big win because that's what we do all day. I have two little fur babies, which are my pride and joy. So a husky and a grumpy old kitty cat that's been with me forever. That I love more than anything. Outside of work, I am a huge movie fan, a huge music fan, and I am quite nerdy in my spare time, whether it's video games or a really good book to sink my teeth into.
I love that. What's your favorite food?
My favorite food is cachoffoli, which are like these stuffed artichokes that my grandmother makes. She's the only one that can make it, and they're delicious.
Have you wrote down the recipe?
I have.
Yes.
I haven't quite nailed it. There's something in there that she hasn't told me about, and I will figure it out. I'm on a mission.
Yeah, for sure. And what about your music? What's like your go-to genre?
I actually love creating music. So when I'm working, it'll be anything fast paced, anything that can raise my heart rate and keep me performing at my peak. But when I'm not working, it's really a way to be able to release the day. So I love writing lyrics, composing songs when I can. I will not say that I'm necessarily super skilled. It's more about the words and being able to, in a way, journal out my day so I can disconnect and switch off.
I love that so much. There you go. I learned like so many new things about you just in like a minute. Caterina, so you are a BDM and rental operations at Woodards. So how long have you been in property management for now?
So I'm just about to tick over to 14 years next month.
Woo! Happy anniversary for next month.
Thank you.
And so tell us what a typical day looks like for you.
The days fluctuate depending on what's going on, but my ultimate goal in the morning is to hit the phones. I try and do a lockout hour till about 10:30 in the morning. Then it's getting back to any clients that have contacted me the night before, managing the team, hitting the road for appraisals, and then doing what we need to throughout the day, whether that's condition reports, open homes. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, awesome. And so, Caterina, what drew you to like the BDM side of real estate?
I think when you've been in real estate long enough, it follows you wherever you go. Like every property manager out there has always had a client come to them and say, hey, I love what you're doing with this property. Will you take on this other one that I know or my friend needs help and support? And that was a good sort of 10, 12 years ago. And it just grew from there into being something that I love. I love problem solving. So getting those really intense, chaotic ones and being able to rework them so that they move forward with peace and they bring a lot of peace of mind and clarity to both the renter and the landlords. Those really tough ones, I think, are my favorite.
Yeah. And so when it comes to like your philosophy on working with clients, is that what you really love? Like that problem solving, perhaps even like negotiations and or like an objection that comes your way that you have overcome it. Do you love that side of the BDM role?
Absolutely, because nobody's problems are the same. So every time you talk to someone, what they need solved is very unique to them. So getting the opportunity to find that problem through really good, curious conversations, creating that relationship with them where, you know, they're panicked about something and being able to guide them to a resolution and really carry them all the way through. That's the part that brings me the most satisfaction.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so today there was a few things that we wanted to talk about, but the first one that I want to touch on is rejection and resilience, because we know, and I'm sure a lot of BDMs that are listening as well know that it is part of our role. It's going to happen at some point where we feel like we're rejected, and I think when we look at resilience, it's that I suppose that feeling to keep going even when perhaps things are a bit slower or we're not seeing those wins on the board. So how did rejection help you like shape you in your early career as a BDM?
Oh, I think in my early career, it knocked me on my backside, and I'd be lying if it didn't. I think when you get enough rejection early on, you can really let self-doubt crawl all over you like ants. So, learning to catalog it in such a way where you understand that it's actually not personal, that was sort of the first step. I think the biggest step is sort of past that, though, was learning that if I was getting rejection early on, it meant that I wasn't listening enough, that I wasn't being curious enough, and I needed to take a pause, learn to ask more questions before I went into actually talking about how I can solve all of those problems. Once I uncovered that, there was sort of less friction that occurred in conversations, and it became a lot more smooth sailing, and you naturally build confidence. Don't get me wrong, I still have days where self-doubt gets the better of me. I think we'd all be lying if we said we didn't, but you learn to dust it off and pick yourself up in different ways. And that's how you really can double down and get back up when you fall.
For sure. And so there's an element there, Karen, that you said it's like to not take it personally, but in a way it is personal because through your journey you had to reflect. It's like, okay, did I listen enough? Was I curious enough? Did I ask enough questions? Did I not ask enough questions? Could I have solved more problems? Or some other things that comes to mind is like, did I guide them or help them make a decision? Did I kind of, just leave and not help them go, okay, well, what's the next step? So in a way, it's like we're not taking that rejection personally, but it is personal knowing what we could have done perhaps better or like learning from that rejection. So how can we then integrate that, I suppose, awareness from that rejection to help us be better the next time?
I think a good way to start is making sure that every time you pick up the phone, especially in that initial conversation, you're starting with 5 to 10 questions before you talk about what you can actually do. And then when you're doing your follow-ups, transitioning it from, hey, I'm just checking in, to ask yourself, how can I add value to this person today? What do they need? And that might flavor your conversation in certain ways, whether you're talking about compliance, insurance, minimum standards, maybe you're referring them to a financial planner, whatever it might be. If you look at adding value rather than trying to close effectively, then people are going to be more encouraged to follow along with the journey of why they should choose you because they've already seen the value that you have to bring to the table.
Yeah, I completely agree. Was there a specific time where, you went in, you had a conversation with someone, you thought it went really well, and then you didn't get the listing and that you thought like you had that in the bag? Like, and then what was the lesson from that?
Absolutely. I think it happens to all of us all of the time. I think, it can happen as any day, any time. I learned not to count my chickens before they're hatched because I think in those situations when you go in and you think you've won, that's sometimes where you get a little bit inconsistent with your follow-up and a little bit sloppy because you thought you nailed it. So I try not to walk out feeling that I've nailed it anytime, and I always walk out going, okay, maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things you said off air was that you'd love to see more BDMs like recover from rejection more quickly and not take the no's so personally. And so, what do you think is really behind the struggle? Is it like lack of training? Is it a mindset shift? Could it be culture or environment or perhaps something else?
I think it can be all of those things. I think every circumstance is a little bit unique. You need to have a really good culture around you and a place that feels like home so that when you've been locked in your office and you've met all that rejection, you can walk out and go, oh, that was tough, and have someone that you can vent to in the office. I certainly have quite a few teammates that fill that void for me.
Yeah.
I think also self-doubt, like it can be hard to get, 10 no's in a row and then still pick up the phone. But if you're picking up the phone in a way to have a conversation and say, hello, how can I actually help you today, rather than, hello, I want your listing, it's a different conversation, and you find that the rejection is not so attacking at you because you're not attacking them in a way. If you're listening more, it helps. I think that's the biggest lesson. You just need to listen actively, like actually listen, not wait for your turn to speak.
Yeah, well, that was going to be one of my other questions, is like, what's your process when you get a no? But you kind of answered that. But do you have like a little ritual, or perhaps like a nurture sequence that even if they didn't go with you right now, is there something that you do potentially help move that client to a yes later down the track?
Absolutely. I think being consistent with your follow-up helps. Like, just because you get a no, I don't want you to lease my property right now, doesn't mean that you shouldn't stay in touch. Certainly staying in touch with them throughout the campaign can be a point of difference. We often find that a lot of BDMs, especially in my area, they'll sign people off and then be really hands-off, pass the listing to the leasing department, and then don't speak to the client again. And bless you, sometimes they can be hearing from me more than they're actually hearing from their own BDM. So I've cultivated a relationship there. Then once you know it's leased, send them a congratulations, be humble. How did you go? What did you achieve? By the way, I'll be in touch when that 3-month routine rolls around. Let's talk more and make sure it comes in on time. And if you find enough key dates are missed and you're in that proactive space before even their property manager is, that client's going to be more inclined to come to you when something does go wrong.
Yeah. And so there's a couple of things that you just said that I kind of want to unpack a little bit. One is we need to make sure that what we are, I suppose, selling to a client matches the same communication as the property management, right? And two, I'm going to ask a question then, Caterina. Do you believe that BDM should be involved during the leasing process then?
So we have a very unpopular structure here. We don't have a leasing team. If I'm listing a client, I'm also leasing it. Whether that's my belief or not, that's the structure. It works really, really well. We find that because we have that more personalized care with that client, and if they drive past their house, they'll see me or my assistant Lara doing that open home like it's actually us. I'm putting my word on the line, but I'm also following through. It cultivates a different level of trust with those clients because they can see me there, or their neighbor can say, oh yeah, Caterina was here, she said hello. It does make a difference when I've got a client who's on the fence.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've shared this a few times, and not tooting my own horn, but when I was a BDM, I was doing between 20 to 30 listings a month, and I was overseeing the leasing. So not that I was completely hands-on and I wasn't completely hands-off, meaning that I would list a property, I would onboard, get it online for marketing, oversee the applications, shortlist the applications, discuss those applications with the landlord. We then had a leasing team do the processing of the applications, give us a summary. I would then go back and discuss those applications with the landlord. If the landlord approved it, I would be calling the renters, because sometimes there's negotiations that happen there too. Like, can they actually move in on that date, right? Like, do we need to use our skills that we have as BDMs to negotiate and hold firm on minimizing that vacancy as much as we can? So my belief is, although back then I feel like it would have been beneficial for me to have an assistant, would have definitely taken some of the pressure off. I believe that why I was able to assist more clients was because I got the reviews, because I helped them with that first initial step that is so scary for a lot of landlords. So I think with what you said, like, I think, and perhaps your team are doing some incredible things and you're getting reviews and getting so much praise and visibility as well, is because you are involved in that process. And I think it would be a point of difference for you in your area, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. I think we're one of the only teams out here that actually has that structure. It also means when I hand it off to the PM, I'm not giving them a blind Hey, this is your new client. I'm giving them a full handover. Hey, this is your client. I find they're great on emails, not so great on the phone. Or maybe they're a school teacher. If you need them, text them during the day, but only call them after 3 o'clock. Like that firsthand knowledge and that intimacy with that client, I can pass on so that half the battle between the PM establishing that relationship with that client has already been had.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a question, Katerina. We're kind of going a little bit off topic here, but that's okay. So it might. All right, let's talk about it because you're in Victoria, okay? And we've got a lot of I guess from all of the states across Australia, I feel like there is a lot of doubt in a lot of BDMs at the moment in Victoria. The rejection, the uncertainty with the marketplace, landlords selling. So then how have you been able to overcome, that uncertainty and legislation changes? Like we had more changes through this year with continuing to go, okay, despite what's happening, despite the market, despite landlords selling, there's still opportunities out there. Like, how do you overcome that?
I think a big piece of the puzzle that's helped me is having really good referral partners that I can speak to. So I refer people when I need to, like I said, financial planners or brokers that can help redefine whether it's appropriate for that client to hold. If it's not, I've got a great sales team and I'll connect them to that. If it is, then it's about working within the facts, the figures, and the numbers, but being creative to help yield those results. So, for some clients that struggle to get things off the ground financially, it's about working with them to create payment plans with trades if works need to be done and structuring things in a way that it creates ease. I find that the best way to do that is by being hands-on, and maybe I'm a total control freak and I'll totally raise my hand for that. I know I am, but the biggest part is if you listen and you understand what's going on in that person's world, you can help them. If you're not listening to exactly where those pain points are, you can't actually solve the problem. At the end of the day, we're selling a service. So for the service to be relevant, you have to find out what's going on in their world so you can help.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Okay, something that I still see that exists in property management world, especially in the BDM space. I don't feel like it's as bad as it used to be many, many years ago. I think it is definitely changing. Is BDMs not coming together or having conversations together or sharing things that are working and celebrating each other. I mean, one of the things that you and your team come to is obviously our end of financial year gathering where it's literally just BDMs coming together, having a chat, nothing's off the table. And I feel as though, I would love to encourage that. I know that you want to encourage that more. I mean, we've got, BDMs across the country who are collaborating, who catch up and, share the things that are going well, perhaps things that aren't going well. So where do you think that the culture of like not celebrating comes from in this industry?
I think the BDM space is a really tricky one because unless you've been a BDM, you don't know what it's like. You're not quite sales, you don't quite fit in there, you're not quite property management, but you need all of that knowledge in order to sell the service of that department. So you're kind of the leftover elbow room of real estate sometimes. Yeah. And I think we're so busy competing, we forget to celebrate one another. So I've got a colleague that I work really closely with, being Daniel, who I know you know well. He and we don't really go head to head. Like if we find that, the same name is in our database for whatever reason, we go 50-50, we share and we work together because we both bring two completely different sets of historic information in real estate to the table. So it's strange though, because when you go out there and you're competing for business, we're the only industry that will cut each other down financially just to sign on the dotted line. I know there's a competitor just across the road from me that at the moment is doing leasing at half a week. I can't compete with that and I won't. I don't think it's fair and I don't think it's worth my time. Instead, I'll stay in touch with that client, and if anything falls apart, I'll be there. And I've already had 4 missed listings from this year reach out to me after the fact because of their experience. I think it's wild. You know, you call a plumber out to your house, your plumber's going to go, yep, that's a 150 call out fee or whatever it is they might charge. They don't sit there and say anything beyond, oh, if you do me a cashier, I won't charge you GST. Like that's maybe as low as they go. But in our industry, we'll just waive a fee just for the sake of getting a listing, which just seems wild.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, look, I mean, it's, you know, you've been in this industry 14 years. I've been in this industry for a long time as well. And I think like that, I don't think that'll change when it comes to fees, but I think when it comes to like celebrating each other, there's ways that we can come together and, you know, stand firm on what is going to increase the value of our industry, not just lowering our fees. So here's some things, Caterina, that I have seen happen. And I actually haven't shared this on air yet, so you're the first one. I've seen a BDM team where, again, they share a database, and one particular BDM had been working with a client for a while. They had a new BDM join, and the BDM didn't check the database, sign that client up, and obviously the other BDM got pissed. And this is someone within their own company, and I would be pretty pissed too if that happened. I've seen and heard BDMs talking down about the other BDMs in their like local area when it's just not necessary to, you know, beat them down personally. I'm talking about like not fees aside, but personally. I've seen BDM and heard BDM teams that aren't celebrating each other's wins and feel like they can't celebrate their wins because might look you know, too over the top or coming from a place of ego. And I think there's underlying all of that, right? Like, let's just address this. At the end of the day, majority of BDMs are in a BDM role because, yes, they love helping with people, but also there's a financial gain that we can get as BDMs, right? Like, there's no limit to our income. And I think we need to start celebrating not just the numbers, but BDMs that are making an impact, right, in their local communities, working with amazing people, and are earning good money because of their being valuable enough to have a higher salary or earn higher commission. So what do you think is a shift that we need for BDMs to celebrate each other more and have healthy conversations about money and revenue and commissions and things like that?
I think the biggest thing is just to celebrate one another. The industry is huge in many ways. We don't need to tear each other down. We need to learn from each other. What are you doing that's making you so successful? How did you hit those targets? What did you do differently? What can I learn from you? I think if we come at a space where we're hungry about how we can grow rather than reflecting on, oh, that is impossible, we can't do that, we'll evolve. If we sit in this space where we tear each other down and we don't celebrate, there's always going to be infighting. There's enough business to go around. We just need to look for it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So now on the flip side, can you tell me a time where someone in our industry has genuinely celebrated a win of yours?
I get a lot of encouragement from Dan. He's been really sweet. Last year, he nominated me for some awards. And it was the first time in the industry that I ever felt seen. And it probably meant the most to me in terms of impact. Inside of my team, though, I have really good people around me that when I do win, you know, hey, I've hit target this month, we'll walk around, we'll high five, someone will shout a coffee. I think the culture that you're in and the team that you're in plays a big part in that space.
Yeah. And so is there a shift that we need to change from like a competitor to community?
I think we need to communicate more and not be so independent. Most BDMs are solo. There's only one of us in each office. So we need to come together as people, as humans, and connect and be able to talk about the challenges that we have and help each other problem solve as a group rather than trying to be like these lone rangers inside of offices. I think the more we get together, the more we'll grow together.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so let's look at collaboration over competition now. So you've built like some really great long-term client relationships through working with BDMs like outside, of your area. How does that work for you?
It's a giver's gain kind of approach. I'm going to sound a bit BNI now when I
Ah, no,
say
I
that,
love
but
that saying. I love that saying from BNI.
I think if you put kindness out there, kindness will come to you. And that's the foundation for it all. There are many times when I refer out of my area to other people within my network and even externally when we don't have an office out there. I don't get anything back. And it's not about getting anything back. When you're giving, you're not here to get out of the transaction. What you're doing is supporting your client, and your client's going to come back to you when they've had a great experience and say, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for connecting me with person A because they were so phenomenal. I really appreciate you connecting me. And that's going to position you as an expert, not in your only in your local area, but in the industry. And that right there is the difference.
For sure. So if you could speak directly to a BDM who's still like guarding their territory, competing and, not collaborating with other BDMs, maybe even in their own area, what would you say to them?
I think back to bad relationships that I've had in high school, and I think back to those journeys, and I always think to myself, if you're fighting so hard to be defensive and to really control everything, it's because you're really insecure. Maybe instead of fighting so hard to keep those territory lines, stop, have a conversation, and spend a bit of time really reflecting on why you feel the need to dig the claws in so deep. If you take a moment to really step outside your own insecurities, you'll realize that if you give, you'll gain a lot more.
Oh my God, that was so beautiful. I love that. I love that so much. And where do you think, like, I mean, this is more of a question, I guess, for me as a trainer or perhaps some other trainers, because, we all help each other out as well. What do you think we can change about supporting BDMs more and elevating the culture of BDMs in our industry? Or
I
do you think
think
we're doing a good job?
I think you guys are doing a great job. I think there's been more awareness and more attention to BDMs in the industry now than there ever was when I started. When I started in the industry, being a BDM wasn't a thing. It's not only a fully fledged role, there's huge courses, there's content, there's information, there's education. It's never been like that before. So really, I think from where I sit, keep doing what you're doing because it's had a massive, massive impact, especially recently with all the different things that have gone on behind the scene on socials. I know you've taken a lot of heat, but what you're doing out there to just raise awareness for what's happening for our clients and for us as an industry is huge. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right. So rise means raise your revenue, increase your influence, solidify your success, and embrace your evolution. So what does rising mean to you, Caterina? Like you personally?
I think as you evolve in the industry, you need to be open to reinventing yourself frequently. I think I've reinvented myself about 100 times over, and I hope I will continue to do that because I think the minute you stop trying to evolve is the minute that your growth stops. So I think always making time for that space in my day, whether it's reflecting in my journal or writing some music, because that's what it is for me. I think that's going to be the most important thing for me to carry forward.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have a lot of BDMs listening to this podcast. So what's one thing that you want every BDM to walk away with and perhaps look at things differently after listening to this podcast today?
The next time you see another BDM in the driveway, stop, shake their hand, say hello, get to know their name, and look forward to the competition and embrace it rather than trying to tear each other down.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I've still got one name that comes to mind, Damien. He works at Jealous Craig now in Victoria. Like Damien and I went head to head as both BDMs, and he's still a great mate of mine today. Where I worked in Glenwaley in Victoria as a BDM, we had one, two, three real estate offices, like right next door to each other. We had another three across or four across the road. And look, not everyone had a BDM, but me and the BDM next door, they were actually Harcourts. We caught up. We had to move our cars every 2 hours, so we would see each other in the parking lot, say hello, talk about the market, or he'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna go see this particular person," and I'd be like, "Yeah," and we'd joke around or whatever. It wasn't like, we weren't competing. We were just, it was lighthearted. We would still have a chat. Or, yeah, we would take the piss if one of us got the listing over somebody else, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't this like competitiveness. And I think, like you said, Caterina, there's enough business to go like around for everyone. I think the more that we can just stop and have some conversations, and there's some great things, that trainers are doing. There's more events now, specifically, just for BDMs. I go and spend a day with people who are solo. Most of them are in solo roles, and get to know each other. I would love to know, Caterina, what are some goals that you have for this year? Because obviously I've been following from afar, and love what you do and how you support your team and other members of Woodard. So, but I would love to know, like, what are some goals for you this year that you would like to achieve?
For me this year, it's about scale. So I think we have a formula that's worked really, really well. We've had an office that I'm very blessed to have a hand in leading. That's won Property Management Office of the Year last year for the network, which was really incredible. And I'm so grateful to every one of the team, because we wouldn't be here without the work that they put in. Now it's scaling what we do. So last year, I listed 104 managements in the year, which I know isn't huge when you go out there in the industry for BDMs, but for me, with everything that I do, that was my personal best.
Yeah.
This year in Q1, I've done 46. So now it's about scaling that for the rest of the year so I can continue to beat what I've done this quarter, the next quarter.
Yeah, congratulations. That's so amazing. And I love that you've put it out there, right? Because I honestly, truly believe that when you start putting out there your goals, it's like you make it happen. It's tangible. You can see it. I mean, I think people would have a heart attack if they saw my goal board, because there's about maybe 50 things on my board, but it's like they're the things that I want to achieve. And so a massive congratulations for all you do. And I think as well, Caterina, I just want to acknowledge, and for any BDMs listening as well, like, go follow Caterina. She's always up for having a chat. They're doing some really great things in terms of, being visible, but staying true to themselves. And I think what I love, Caterina, is this is the second time we've actually had a interaction, but from what I see online, actually even I've probably got even more from you like today in terms of depthness, because I can tell we could probably go into some deep conversations, but you always are true to yourself, and I really love that, and I applaud that, and I think we need to see more of that and more BDMs coming together. And so go have a chat to Caterina, connect with her. Her socials will be in the link. But I just want to say thank you for coming on today, for sharing your things, that how you're doing, how more BDMs can overcome some rejection and not take it so personally and collaborate more. And I just really want to see you reach your goals this year. And I'm sure a lot of us are going to be cheering you on and supporting you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for creating space for these conversations. They can sometimes be overwhelming at the thought of, but I think they're so important. And the more we take time to listen to each other, the more we grow. So thank you for holding space for this so frequently.
Oh, my pleasure. And for anyone listening, I hope you found this valuable, and please feel free to share it with another BDM that needs to hear this message from Caterina. And as always, keep rising.